Hey everyone, welcome to episode number 7 of On1 Inspiration. My name is Brian Matias. This episode we're joined by a good friend of mine, travel photographer based out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and his name is James Brandon. Now James and I have led multiple workshops together, and he was actually just finishing one up in Hawaii. Now, after the workshop ended, he decided to stay a few extra days to try to get some more photos. And I know he was trying to get some fresh photos for this particular episode, which I definitely appreciate, and I'm sure you will too. So I checked out the video, and it's really cool because what James is going to do is show you how the workflow process that he used to get this really sweet photo of this guy standing on a very rocky shore on the coast of Hawaii as these huge waves started pummeling in. So check out his workflow and his stylistic approach, and let me know what you think in the comments. See you soon.
Hey folks, James Brandon here. Today we're going to go over an image from a recent trip to Kauai. I literally just got back last week, so these images are fresh and I've barely gotten a chance to look over them. But by far the highlight of that entire trip was the evening that I went to a place called Queen's Bath. So this is located in Princeville on the north shore of Kauai, and I wasn't really sure if I was going to be able to make it there because, April is right on the end of the winter season there, and in the winter the surf is really, really treacherous. And Queen's Bath is a place that you do not want to go if the tide is high. So the thing is that when I got there, the very first announcement that I heard on the news was that there was a high surf advisory pretty much every day that I was there. So I'd pretty much written off going to Queen's Bath on this trip until a local photographer there by the name of Matt Keyser, you should definitely look him up. He contacted me, noticed that I was in town and wanted to see if I was interested in going shooting. And he suggested going to Queen's Bath. So we got there at sunset, or, like 35 minutes before sunset. And the first thing he mentioned was that, wow, this was not as calm as I thought it would be. So I was a little bit nervous, but he led me around. We kind of observed the tides for quite a while before going out on the rocks. But the photo that I want to go over today is this sequence right here. So let me make one of these big. So here's my sort of my MO at sunset is I'll take a shot like this. Let's make this dark. This dark one bigger. Okay, so I'll take one like this for the sky. And the sunset was really, really incredible that night. We had kind of some mist in the air that was causing a really nice glow out here. The sun setting right here, and we just had this incredible set of clouds over the area from some storms that were kind of moving out. So I'll take a dark one here to expose for all the highlights. And then I brighten it up a little bit so I can focus on the foreground. And then I'll just take a sequence of shots of the foreground, and then I'll blend them together with the sky later. And then if the sky changes drastically, I'll usually darken it and get another shot and kind of reset that aspect of it. So, okay, so what I was trying to get here was I was photographing this area right here, and this is actually Queen's Bath. But these two local guys showed up, and they were kind of taking turns or daring each other or something to jump into the bath. During the summer, this is, relatively safe, although something like 30 people have died here over the last however many years from being swept out to sea. It's not a safe place. So you can see the first guy here, and then the little blur is the other guy jumping into the water. But he jumped in, he was gone, and this guy was just kind of sitting there. And then later you'll see him standing. But watch these waves, okay? So this is kind of as the wave is just hitting up on the shoreline here, and then it kind of pulls over, and that's a decent sized wave. You can see the guy in there, maybe starting to panic a little bit. So that's not a big wave, but then this bigger one starts coming through. Okay, so this is a little bit bigger, and this is a really cool shot because you got the guy standing here with, the water pouring over the rocks. So I'm trying to find, the best one to work with. And then the wave gets a little bit bigger, and now we have this. And this is just, exploding over these rocks. I cannot describe how loud this is and how almost scary it is. Like I was a little panicked, even though I was up on a little bit higher ground. So that one comes through. You can see the guy scrambling to get out of the bath now. And then this one comes through. And they're just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And now the guy's desperately trying to get out. And you can see between these two shots, he gets out pretty much just in time before this one just, that one probably would have swept him out to sea. So not the smartest guys, but apparently they're locals. They know what they're doing. But I'm sure some of the 30 people who have died out there knew what they were doing as well. So, all right, so we have to decide which one of these photos to use. And I'm kind of digging this one right here just because of the chaos in the scene here. You've got the guy standing up, looking right as this wave is exploding. And he got drenched from this. I mean, just drenched. And I think that's what we're going to go with. Okay, so here's what I'll do. I'm only doing very minor work in Lightroom here. We're going to jump right into the ON1 suite. But I organize all my photos in Lightroom still, and before sending them over and doing the heavy lifting in ON1, with an exposure blend like I'm going to be doing in layers, I want to get the images as close to as possible in terms of the light in each scene before I blend them together. And for my workflow, it works best doing it in Lightroom. So I'll star these shots. I've already done that. And then I'll come down, I put them in a collection right here. So now we have the dark exposure for the sky and the brighter exposure here for the foreground. Okay, so let's hop over into develop, and just really quickly, what I'm doing here is, if you look right here, we have the dark sky and then the brighter foreground. And if I toggle between the two, you'll see that, they're very different in terms of light. So for this one, I want to just bring up the shadows, bring up the exposure a little bit, and kind of just make the image flat, so to speak, to where there's not a huge difference in foreground and background. Okay, so something like that. And then with this one, I want to bring as much sky detail as possible in, so that when I blend these layers together, there's not going to be a huge difference in the blend. And that's kind of the key. But still, the point of doing an exposure blend is so you get the best quality pixels. I could probably get away with using the sky here, but there's not as much detail in it. And I want to have, as much detail as possible. All right, so just very, very light editing here. Okay, so from here, we'll hop over into ON1. So we'll highlight both photos, go to File, Plug in Extras, and then I'm going to open it right into Layers 10. All right, here we are inside of ON1 Photo 10, and I have the layers over here on the right. So if I toggle this little eyeball icon right here, we can see that the bottom layer is the darker one in the back, and then we have the brighter one on top. And it doesn't really matter which one is on top or the other, it just determines like what kind of mask you're going to be using when you start going down that road. So we need to just, hop right into blending these together and making this photo look really good as far as tonality and dynamic range go. So there's a lot of different ways you can blend an image together. You could use the quick mask tool, which is really, really handy in a lot of cases. For this, I could just do a manual paintbrush across here and then paint the rest of the sky in. But one of the things I love about ON1 is this little bug here, this masking bug. So what I'll do is just drag this down, and voila, we have a mask created. And if you look over here on the top layer, we have black on top and white on bottom. So white, with masking, the best way that I have ever heard to remember how a mask works is that white reveals while black conceals. And that's applied to the actual layer that the mask is on. So white is revealing the foreground layer in this case and concealing the top part of the sky. And since it's concealing that, we're seeing through this layer down to the bottom one, which is the sky exposure. So that's why we have the dark sky with the bright foreground. And now we just need to refine this a little bit. So I'll grab this. I want to make sure that the the masking bug is level with the horizon, because I think I dragged it off just a little bit when applying it. And then once that's set, you can just drag this down and get it right there. You can see that it's still off a little bit. So if you do it right here, it's kind of hard to get it just right. But if you hold down right there and then drag out, now it's a little bit finer adjustment. You can kind of fine tune it a lot easier. And I'm using a Wacom pen tablet, which makes it even easier. But okay, from here, I like to just kind of experiment with the gradient. So if I pull this all the way in, you're gonna have a really, really hard edge on your gradient. Whereas if I pull all the way down, it's gonna be a very smooth gradient. And if I pull it all the way down, you'll see the other exposure start coming in. You can see the rocks start coming in through the waves, and you can see the water kind of through the person there. So we don't want that. You know, we want to have all that water. So I'll probably do a fairly hard edge, probably something like that. I think that looks pretty good. And that's as easy as it is to blend these together. That's why I love this focus bug. It's so great. I use it all the time. So let's hop into the next segment. Where do we go from here? Okay, so now I want to probably add some effects to the sky, some effects to the foreground, do some, let's say we'll do some sharpening of the rocks. And then I'm thinking that we'll need to do some healing work here, some brush work. I see a dust spot up there, and a little squiggly here, which is probably like a little hair or something that was on my sensor, and some dust spots down there. So what we could do is we could go ahead and get rid of the dust spots so that we don't have to do it later and we don't have to apply effects to them and all that stuff. So, all right, so to do that, we'll do Shift Command J, which is a little shortcut in ON1. And what Shift Command J does is it takes all of your layers and combines them into one layer. And it's a really handy tool because we don't want to heal this layer here because it might mess up with the mask and how it's affecting the one below it. And then we'll, you know, for healing the sky and the foreground, we have to switch between the layers. So it's easier just to combine them into one layer once you know that your mask is complete. Okay, so let's hop over to the healing brush. We'll grab it right over here and use the bracket keys to make it a little bit bigger. And then we'll just draw over this little hair there. It looks like there might be another one here. All right, there. There's a dust spot here, and I think that's it. Although there are a few little things in the rocks here, like this thing here, little specks here and there. It's good just to get rid of these, just to be safe, just to avoid any distractions in the photo. All right, something there. And I think that's probably good. Okay, let's hop into effects. So the good thing with all of these tools in ON1 is that if you click any of them, it's automatically going to create a new layer for you. So you don't have to worry about your layers here. So we'll just click effects and hop right in. So let's see. Okay, I don't want sharpening. I want to do something with the sky first. So I primarily shoot landscapes, travel images, stuff like that. So one of my go-tos is obviously going to be the landscape gallery. Where did it go? I can't find it. Presets. There we go. Sorry. Landscape. All right. So this is sunset. Okay. And this is why effects is so cool, because you can kind of just go by your situation, and chances are there's going to be a preset or a filter for what you're doing and when you were there, and you know, so on and so forth. So I can actually go to golden hour enhancer or magic sunset or perfect sunshine or something like that, and those are usually going to be pretty good options. So let's see here. You know, Magic Ocean might be good too. You know, it's on the Pacific Ocean. Let's see what it does to the sky. So it kind of gave us a little bit of pop in the clouds. It enhanced the oranges a little bit. Okay, so that one's good. Let's check out Daily Vitamin. That's a little bit too washed out. I think Golden Hour Sunshine is going to be too yellow. I want to preserve some of the blue tone here. Landscape Pop Sunshine might be good. Okay. That's a little bit much. I think I like Magic Ocean. It's close between those, but I think I'll stick with Magic Ocean. So, okay, so that it's good, but there's a few issues with it. So if we hop over here to the right-hand side, we'll see what's being done to create this preset. So it's done a vignette, color enhancer, and tone enhancer. My first kind of thought is that the vignette probably isn't what I want. So I'll toggle it on and off. And yeah, I don't want it. Vignettes are good if you have something in the center and you want to draw attention to it, but the center of the photo isn't the focal point here. It's down here. So we don't want a vignette that's trying to pull the viewer towards the middle. So we'll just turn that off. Don't need it. Now let's hop over to the color enhancer. And let's see. I think I might bring my saturation up a little bit. Make it pop a little bit more. Okay, and let's play with the temperature just a little bit. And you have to remember this is being applied to the entire image. So what we'll want to do is go and create a mask to make sure that it only applies to the top part. All right, I think that's good. Probably not anything I really need to do in tone enhancer. Oops, I turned off color enhancer. There we go. I just want to go to color enhancer. Okay. I'll have to turn that back on in a second. I think that's good. I don't need to do anything there. Okay, so when we're all done there, we'll hit apply. And then that will take us back into layers. All right, so what we can do here is right click on this layer and copy the mask, and then go up to the top layer and where is paste mask? Might have to go up here. Paste mask, there we go. Okay, so the only issue here is that the mask is the opposite of what we want. It's revealing the foreground and concealing the top. So now we just need to invert it. So you can go up to mask and then invert mask, or you can just hit Command or Control I. And that'll flip it around. So now we're just applying that to the sky. All right, let's hop back into effects. And now I can't decide if I want to do anything with the water or not. Let's just look at some of the effects here. I mean, subtle sunshine. Let's see if that's doing anything. Perfect sunshine. Not a lot. Just bear with me as I go through here. All right, we might do this one. Let's just try it. Let's hit apply. Okay, so I noticed that that's what it was doing, and I took it into effects and it reapplied the same mask. So we just need to invert this and see what it's doing to the foreground here. So we'll hit Command I, and obviously that's way too far. So we'll just take this all the way down to 0 and then just bring it up until we get the effect that we're looking for. Okay, we need to turn these on. That's good. All right. Just bring this up just a little bit. All right, so that added a little bit more blue to the image. Okay, so from there, we'll hit Shift Command J to merge all of our layers again. And now the only thing I need to do is do a little bit of sharpening in the rocks to make sure that those have a little bit of pop to them. So I'll hop back into effects one last time. And instead of doing the presets now, I'll go over to filters and find something for sharpening. So we'll go into the sharpening and let's just see. So we have high pass sharpen, and that kind of mimics my, what I typically do if I'm in Photoshop is I always go through the high pass filter. So that might be a good option. I just kind of prefer the subtlety of it. Progressive, let's just stick with that. Let's do the high pass and see. We're just watching the rocks here. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Just very subtle. I always try to stay subtle with my sharpening, and I never apply it to the sky, ever. I never sharpen my skies anymore. I used to, until I started seeing how grungy it was making them look. And you want your skies to be nice and smooth and subtle and just complementing the scene rather than competing with it. So what I'll usually do is if I've added a sharpening layer, I'll just immediately go to invert mask, which will put a black mask over the image. And now I can go grab my paintbrush right here. Oops, that's the little tool. Masking brush, there we go, sorry. And then we want to make sure that we're painting with the right color. So we'll paint with white or paint out. And then we'll just, let's see, feather. I want to bring my feather up to probably 80%. Pretty good feather. All right, opacity 100. Let's take that down to around 80, okay. And then we'll just paint that detail in. And if we look over here on the mask, you can see the white start to show up. And if you ever want a preview of what you're doing, you can just come down here and click this and you'll see it right there. So I'm just gradually painting it into the rocks here, just freehand. Like so. I want the most sharpening to be applied to the rocks in the foreground. And then I'll take our opacity down to, let's say, 70%, and then do just one pass over the rocks in the background. You don't want them to be just as sharp because they're further away. So something like that. All right, very subtle. I don't want to sharpen the water because it's going to add too much grunge and noise to it. I don't want to sharpen the person, don't want to sharpen their skin. You never want to do that. And you don't want to sharpen the sky, as I already went over. So I think that's a pretty good place to stop for this image. So you can see just in a few minutes of playing around, and obviously I'm talking my way through this, so it takes a little bit longer. If I was just doing it on my own, it would take, maybe 5 minutes tops. But just in a few minutes, we can go through and grab a few effects and layers and masks and come up with a really, really nice high dynamic range image. Not an HDR in the sense that it's tone mapped, but you're bringing in more range of light than you would be able to with just a single exposure. So hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions, let me know and I will get back to you as soon as I can. And that's all for now. So you guys have a good one and I'll talk to you later.